Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to my stream. Hey, Chris, sorry you're not going to be able to make it. Low Tech Greg and Joel and Ken, Mr. Clown, and hi, Sanity. DJ Natty, Lars, Delvin. How's everyone doing? It looks like I might have the cutoff chat fixed. It's looking good so far. How do I sound? We don't have music yet. Let me see. I got a couple of comments on the music from last stream, so I changed it to a different, same stream beat stuff, but a different one. So let's get that going. No problem, random messes. Hey, Dorks Fighter. Jim, Ken, KB3D. A little baseless. I sound like me. So I have a lav mic. It's right here. I just tucked it under my shirt. In my tests, in my little recording tests, I sounded fine. So I didn't want something clipped up here. So hopefully this is going to be better. Turn my music down. It's a little high. Yeah, I just picked up a Rode wireless lav mic. So hopefully it works well. I'm learning, so hopefully I've got my levels reasonable. Hi, Pietro, Victor, JP Gray, and Angie. Org? How do you say that? Yorg? Hey, Jokonut. So today is going to be a little more hangout and print than build. So last couple of streams, we've gotten this Switchwire back in service. It's able to print. I've done a little bit of refamiliarizing myself with the Y splitter dual color printing setup. So preheated my V2 and got power outage just before I hit print. Now I'm just relaxing, watching with my phone. Good, thank you. Use a lav mic under the shirt. It must go in the middle of your chest. Better the same distance away from your. Funny. Randomness messes. $50. Thank you. Thank you for all you do for the community. Thank you for being here, and thank you for. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we are going to go through and let me do this little caveat. I have a lot to learn with the multi-material printing stuff. This is kind of what I'm treating as kind of the intro for myself moving forward to doing an ERCF in the future. I had already used this at one point. Can you guys see that? He's exploring. There's Charlie. ERCF is an upcoming project, so this will be kind of a stepping stone there. So I am going to go through the things that I use to use Prusa Slicer, and much of what they've already done for their MMU2 setup in order to make this work. Some of the particular settings that I went through and changed for this. Otherwise, I left Prusa Slicer to do much of the work for me. I know the ERCF is much more involved with macros, and it looks to be probably quite a bit more powerful and tunable. And I'm looking forward to learning that and getting into it. But right now, we're going to do we're going to do this setup. So where do we want to start? We're going to do a few things today, and then we're going to get a print started, and we're just going to kind of hang out while it prints. So a little more hangout than build and configuration. Where do we start? So let's start with the firmware configuration that I've got set up in order to make this happen. And there's really, as far as I'm aware, and for any of this, feel free to bring it up in chat if I'm off the mark somewhere. I think this is the way I understand it. But if we go over to my screen and look at our interface for the printer, the main thing, two things that happen in the configuration that make this work are, let's go to the config. There's two things. We have two extruders defined, right? So let's go down to the extruders. And I'm gonna, this is really going to, a lot of hangout and paying attention to chat today. So I'm gonna let myself get interrupted more, probably even more than usual with the chat. Just to, I mean, we're gonna have fun. What are your thoughts on using a single MGN9 with Stealthburner? Recommendation is to use either dual MGN9 or MGN12. That said, on my green V2 here, I am running a single MGN9 with the old Afterburner setup, and I haven't had any problems with it. But your level of success is going to be determined by the quality of rail you use. I have a question, Steve, for Stealthburner. What fan settings do you use for your KVP profile? I'm still trying to dial that in. I think I'm around 30 or 40%. But I think I tend to run more fan than most. It hasn't bidden me with weak parts. I haven't had parts fail that I could attribute to that. So we're going to go down here. It's an LDO rail on my green V2 DJ Natty. I think it's one of the, it's got red caps, so I don't think it's one of their newest stainless steel ones. We're going to go down to the extruder part. And so this is normal. There we go. These are normal settings, nothing special about the extruder settings. But what I have here, and I've arranged it in my config, there's a G-code macro T0. So all this is saying is to activate extruder. And we'll see its counterpart in the next part of the config. Hey, BB's 3D. So now we have the next extruder 1 configured. And it is, the key part here is it's using a shared heater from extruder. And then another macro T1, activate extruder 1. Now Prusa Slicer will now use these T0 and T1 in the generated G code for the multi-material printing. One thing I want to do as part of all this is play around, because I haven't yet, with the example config from the Stealthburner for the LED. And I think I'm going to insert in here a couple of colors to change to, so we can watch it change colors on the status LED when it changes extruders. That should be all that we have to do in the configuration for this to work. So let's take a little side road here, and do that LED configuration. So since we're here, and everything else in this configuration is going to be in the slicer, and none of that is going to be in the configuration. So let's stick in the firmware and go to the Afterburner. Oops, if I can type today. One of two V0s should be showing up tomorrow, so after work I can start building. Have fun, BBs. We're going to go to the Afterburner GitHub. Now this is showing the main repo for Afterburner. In order to get to the Stealthburner beta stuff, you need to choose which branch, and it's under SB beta. Hey, Alexander Timas. Need to figure out how to feed a color variable from the slicer to change the Stealthburner LED to the actual filament color. I think you could do that in the extra G code in the filament settings. Hey, Printer Prawn. Hey, Printer Prawn. I want to thank you. It's kind of neat. I noticed it was either last week. I think it was last week. You were watching my stream and you were watching another guy's stream, and it came up. My channel came up in that stream, and I caught that and saw that, and I thought that was neat. It was Dr. ZZS, I think it was. So I'm pretty sure that was you, right? Hey, Viking Cat. So we're on the Stealthburner beta page, and here in the Clipper macros is Stealthburner LEDs config. So yeah, the way Printer Prawn, the way I noticed is it in my YouTube dashboard, it shows me recent subscribers sorted by the number of subscribers they have, and that's what popped up at the top of the list. So this Stealthburner LEDs macro has some neat instructions. I've glanced at these, but we're going to learn this on stream today, how to actually use this. So this would be a good part. Anytime you're configuring these, the LED for Stealthburner. There's Charlie again. He really wants up on the bench, it looks like. This is a good spot to start. So let's go ahead and download this. Let's go to the raw and save it. Change this to all files and just throw it on downloads. Agent Kane, that's pretty much exactly what we're going to be doing, if I understand you right. Why set the LED in the T? Why not set it in the T0, T1? That's what we're going to be doing. Oh, we have a visitor. I guess let's take a moment. He found his way over here. He's getting to be an old cat. So instead of jumping up right here, he used the switchwire enclosure as a stepping stone to get up to the bench and then walk behind all the printers to come say hi. Oh boy, I got a mess behind me. Oh well. Yeah, that's a better view. See more of Charlie than me. That's good. I don't want to encourage the jumping straight up onto the bench here. So take an early Charlie break. We're getting a lot more orange in his shaved spot, so his hair's growing back. Viking Cat, what build plate is that? This is the LDO switchwire. I don't know if it's energetic, but it looks like an energetic or built or made. It's the similar style. I think I bought this one from Printed Solid ages ago when they first came out. This printer will get plenty of cat hair. Okay, are you done, Charlie? Yeah, it looks like I fixed the chat cutting off the bottom. That's awesome. It's looking good. I see the overlay shows up before my YouTube interface. It's kind of interesting. Hi, John. Okay, let's get some aggressive petting and set him down. Let's get extra hair all over. Make sure that print stays together. The best cats are tolerant cats. Okay, you get to go take a nap. Let's see how long that lasts. Gotta be something about this cord. Here we go. I'll get used to it. Okay, where were we? Let's go back to this, and I saved that, and it still saved it with a stupid extension, even though I changed it to all files. That's not fun. So let me change. Let me check something here on my computer so I can. This is a reloaded computer, so some of these settings that I'm used to having, like, I don't want to hide extensions of known file types. Cat fiber ABS, yes. Charlie never unleashes the murder mittens. He'll play bite, but he never gets aggressive. All right, so now we can come back here, and we're going to close this for right now and upload that config file that we downloaded, Stealthburner LEDs config. Okay. Let's open that. Now we can go through this in a little more detail. So we have instructions, copy this config file, define your LEDs by editing the this section, noting the difference between RGB, RGBW, and there's another section down here about gRGB. We're using RGBW LEDs. So let's go down here and do our initial setup. So we're going to leave, so the pin, I'm going to close this real quick and get the pin that we're using just to move forward. So let's close this, go to printer config, and down here, our status LED, pin P1.24. While I'm here, I'm going to comment this out because we're going to replace it just with an include. So P1.24, save and close, open this, come down here and put P1.24 here. Okay. I love polydactyl cats. I've been around several of them. Those feet. And we got a bunch of macros down here. So I think that's the only, right now, that's the only thing to change. So we're going to save and close, and Stealthburner _LEDs.config we need to add to our printer config here. So we're just going to include include Stealthburner LEDs.cfg. Okay. Hey, RWD. And I believe when we save and restart, this should get a little washed out, but the LEDs should still come on. There we go. And they are magenta. Okay. Both of them are magenta. Is that what we want them to be? That is covered in this config file. So save your config and restart Clipper. We set red and blue to 1 to make it easier for users and supporters to detect misconfigurations or miswiring. The default color format is for NeoPixels with a dedicated white LED, and that's what these are. If you get random colors across your LEDs, change the color order to GRB and restart. If you get magenta and your color order is correct, then your color order is correct. If you get cyan, then you need to use RGBW. So we're correct. But this is really nice having this in the configuration file. Once you have confirmed that the LEDs are set up correctly, you must now decide whether you want these where you want these macros called up. And we're going to do 2 settings, really. We're just going to put them in the tool changer stuff. So, which means adding them to your existing G-code macros. Nothing will happen unless you add the status macros to your existing G-code macros. Example, add status leveling to the beginning of your QGL G-code macro, and then add status ready to the end of it to set the logo LED and nozzle LEDs back to the ready state. So let's see, feel free to change colors, that kind of stuff. So let's find out what colors do we want to use for the 2 different filaments. And for our initial I don't know one thing that would be nice to know is what the default colors are on these. Or what if we do this? Let's close this. Go to the dashboard. Do these show up here? Yeah. So I'm going to go through these and see what colors the different ones are set up to. And I don't know if this is going to... So we can turn the logo off. We can nozzle lights off. And I'm doing this via the macros just that are set up that populate here in the interface. Hi, EdTR. So status busy is a red. Does it show up better here? No. It's washing out on this little Logitech camera. Way too bright. It's kind of pointless to do this if we can't actually see the change on camera. Status calibrating Z is a magenta. Status cleaning is a blue. Status heating is like a orangish yellow. It's still way too bright. How many lights can I turn off? Yeah, it just gets worse. Oh, it is Super Bowl Sunday, isn't it? Let's see if we can see it from here. once we get printing. Let's see, status busy, status cleaning. All of these look the same to me. That is a bummer. I didn't anticipate that. We got two of them that are at least somewhat. We got status printing, status meshing. They're all way too similar. Turning the brightness down on the Logitech camera. Let's see. Does this come up for you guys? Let me see. Configure video. I can't actually see that. It's not letting. Oh, turn off. I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's turn off the focus. Oh. Yeah, I can't get that to. Let's see here. Auto exposure, but I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's cancel all of this. I think I've still screwed something up here. It doesn't let me auto some of these. Oh, white balance. That was. Yeah, I'm gonna. I tried manual. You couldn't see it, but I was playing with all the manual feed settings on the camera, and I can't seem to get it to. I mean, even this view, I can probably move this down closer. Let's see. Look any better? Change the status. You just can't catch it. I can't. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. Let's put this back where we're. Sorry about that. Little sidetrack learning. Still, if we could actually capture it on camera and when it's moving around printing, you would put those macros, or you could put those macros right here in your T0 and T1 macros. Discard those changes. So we are going to move on. That was a thought. I could see it here, but I don't think any of the cameras are going to capture that well enough. Oh, let's get it. Oh, my light's back up. Okay. The slicer side of this. So if we open up Prusa Slicer, and I'm going to go through this to the best of what I know how these settings work. So feel free to contribute to my knowledge in chat. So first thing we want to do in printer settings, I have all the tuning and stuff for my Switchwire. But we set extruders to 2 and that it's a single extruder multi-material, which basically just tells us that we're using some sort of Y adapter to guide the filament to the extruder nozzle. My custom G code, I just do a home and bed mesh calibrate because Prusa Slicer does a whole little routine at the front of the bed for purging each color before it starts print. And then each extruder has its own retract settings and stuff. Where most of the work happens is, and what is it? Oh, here. So while we're still in the printer settings, this single extruder multi-material parameters, cooling tube position. So what I did here is I took, since I have a Revo Voron in this printer, I took one of the nozzle brakes and measured from the nozzle tip to the heat break portion of it. And then measured the length, or I measured from there to about the middle of the heat break portion of it, and then measured the length of the heat break that's in the heat sink and use that for my values here. So if I go here, the cooling tube position, which is distance of the center point of the cooling tube from the extruder tip, and I put that at 31 millimeters. And then this whole cooling tube length, the cold side of the nozzle brake, 18 millimeters. For the filament parking position, the actual value here is about 100 millimeters from the tip of the nozzle to where it clears the other path in the Y junction. However, I made that 130 so I can examine the tips as this is printing for tuning. And I don't know, I didn't change the extra loading distance. I left that at the default. And I don't know if the high extruder current on filament swap would actually work in this with Clipper. I don't know where that gets set. What if we do that? Yeah, I don't know where that gets set. For filament settings is where all the tuning happens for trying to get a good tip. So a key success factor in multi-material printing with a single extruder like this is when you retract that just melted filament, that you don't get a long string of filament off the end, because then when it pushes it back in, there's a good chance that that can get bundled up and cause a jam. So you want to minimize the amount of filament on the stringing off the tip of that filament, and this is where those settings happen. I spent a couple hours yesterday tuning these so I wouldn't have to go through all the, let's see, all of the mini test prints. Trying to tune that. Some good help from Et, the ERCF guy. A couple little tips from him that helped me get through that process a little quicker. Hey, CRC here from Italy. So, also some help from Chris Riley. He had a MMU2 tips video that I watched, and he said, and where I kind of focused my some of my tuning was in this unloading speed, the number of cooling moves, and then down here in the ramming settings, which is when it pushes the filament back into the melt zone, I think, and the ramming time. And I ended up reducing this quite a bit from, I think the default was 4.5 seconds, and I did 2 seconds. What I'll try to get a good camera angle, but you can see on every filament change what process it's going through. Like this number of cooling moves has to do with how many times it runs the filament through this setting here, through the cooling tube position and length. So you'll see it run back and forth in that twice. And I may increase that to 3 times to see if I can improve the tips a little more. So how was that? Any questions so far that I might try to be able to answer? So once again, I'm learning here. I'm hoping to evolve my knowledge in this, moving on or working up to the ERCF build and getting kind of familiar with what settings affect what part of the print. So now with print settings set up as a dual extruder, that puts Prusa Slicer into the mode that when you load a multi-part print, it will detect that and keep them together on the build plate instead of auto arranging them into different parts. So if we go to Finite, add a file, I modeled up real quick a Voron logo, multi-material Voron logo, and open this, and you see it comes out. Multiple objects were loaded for a multi-material printer. Instead of considering them as multiple objects, should I consider these files to represent a single object having multiple parts? And we say yes. That will place these in the thing. How do we, I think we need these to be different filaments in order to get the different colors, correct? Because this will default this part to extruder 1 and this part to extruder 2. But I don't think I can change these colors right here without changing the color of the filament. So let's go over here and let's change this color to black. And let's save this. Just save this as a second one. And change this one to red. If I go here, that one, save. Oops, the black. Save that. Oh, what is, maybe I'm missing something. I thought that's what the color, that's the color that shows up. What am I missing? There we go. Extruder color. Reset to filament color. Sure. Reset it to the filament color. There we go. Ah. I fumbled through it. Hey, DaVinci. So that's theoretically what we're going for today. And you can move your purge tower. Everybody's heard every bit about purge towers and how wasteful they are. And they are. This isn't the most efficient time or filament process. And we can move that wherever we want on the print. We'll just move it to the back, and that'll be fine. Slice it. And you'll see here the representation at the front that it does its purge. Now, Printer Prawn, Prusa Slicer has a feature for purge to object, where you can set a different STL as your purge object. Where is that? Does anybody know where that is? I've never actually played with it, but I know it exists. Go back here. Is there a if I can get, I have no information on upcoming VRCF stuff. You can do purge to infill and you can do purge to object on Prusa Slicer. I'm not familiar with exactly the mechanisms for doing that. I'm not sure where those are. The purge tower does not end up being taller than the print. I don't know why the representation is such right now. And we can send this. I think I've got everything correct. All the settings are done. Let's send that to the printer. And then we're going to change, because I want to do this in black and red. And this is extruder 1. I could have changed, yeah, let's do that. So we're only changing this side. Let's go back to the here, and we're going to do this piece. We're going to go here, and we're going to, where is it? Change extruder. We're going to do that piece in extruder 2. This piece, extruder 1. It's going to look backwards here because I left my colors for those filaments. But on the print, it'll be correct. So let's slice it and send it to the printer. Now we can change just this side. Sorry about that. See if we can get kind of a middle ground here on the view. This is where I got the tips to. It's still not ideal, but it's not going to jam. An extra cooling move might help. I have some Jesse PLA Black we're going to go with. And then I load this to just visible on the Bowden tube, right to the entrance here. And the start process, oops, there's cat hair all over here, will feed it to the nozzle and do its purge block here. So here we're going to move this one forward to just the opening of the Y splitter right here. I think we can get it to print. So things here, got our G-code files and our Voron logo, and start the print. And it's going to do all of its warming up, go through the process. So, okay, while it's doing this, let's talk about more things. Lots of questions when I've been building this last couple of streams around bed leveling and the magnet effect and the silicone mod or the nylock nut mod. That got me thinking, and I've chatted with a couple of you, and I appreciate that. I'm gonna do some prep work and dedicate a stream to some stuff I want to do with the nylock, or actually I bought some high temp silicone tubing that I'm going to use. So I'm going to prep a little more for a stream where we install the silicone mod, but we're also going to, I have plans to temporarily hook up a clicky style probe to this so we can get a map of the bed with both the super pinda and the clicky and see if we can see the effect or any effect from the magnets. We'll dive into a setup from Clipper. Oops. If we go to Clipper, I have got to figure out something with this. I got to figure out a better way. Actually, I think I know a better way. Mess with that here in a minute. If we go to Clipper and go to the documentation, go under bed mesh. We're going to play around, if we need to, with a feature down here that's, I think, relatively new. Keep going. Faulty regions. So we're going to learn about that and define the magnet spots on the bed, its coordinates, and see how that affects our mesh and what it looks like. So I've got a whole big thing planned. So I'm not going to cover it here today in this stream. I just want to finish off. This printer is working now and doing a multi-material print. That's the goal for today. So that's why this is more little bit of configuration, and then we can just kind of hang out while it does a print. It'll be a relatively short stream today, but I have plans for future streams. So now it's preheating. We should be able to see it start. I'm going to probably get this guy up here. Oops, sorry. Let's see if I'm aimed at that extruder, because it'll be, I think it'll be interesting to see some of what this does when it's doing a multi-material print. So now it's loading the black filament. Hope I got this color set up right, but even if I didn't, it'll still look good. It's loading and purging the black filament. Can't see it here. No music today. What? Oh, I know why. That should work. How is the volume on the music? Depending on, and sorry about that, depending on how I have my AirPods connected, if I have them in, what mode was that? Hands-free mode. For some reason it's set up there, then desktop audio doesn't come through OBS. If I have it in headphones mode, headset mode versus headphones mode, it does. But now I'm not getting any sound. But whatever, I don't need it. While I was distracted there, it pulled the black filament out, it fed the red filament, and now it's purging that. 3D Nevo, nice printer. Does the dual extrusion work well without jamming lots? So far, I haven't had a jam. Even when I was testing with some really stringy ends, it has not jammed. How we're doing on bed level? I think we're good. It's printing the logo in red as I hoped it would. I'll get some close-ups, camera angle of the print here in a minute while we just, once it's going, but I want to run through at least a full cycle here of what it's doing and try to describe which part of the process it's doing. Jim Ramey, have you experienced any issues with Z resolution with Switchwire because it depends so much on microstepping? Not that I've noticed. Nothing that's been apparent. That might be a little high still on my Z offset. Hey, Mauricio. First time viewer, thanks for being here. Where do you get your flex sheets from? So I think any of the LDO distributors sell these. I bought this one from Printed Solid. So something similar to what you're printing right now, a PLA logo, would it hold up in an enclosure? I want to put a similar logo on the back of the enclosure. Your enclosure hits 50C, it might start to warp. Maybe. So now it is feeding the black filament back in. Once it's done with this, I'll show you, I'll point the camera at this extruder to show the cooling moves that it does. So this is just feeding and purging the red out so it can print the black next. Let's see if I can put myself on mute and rearrange my microphone here for there. That's a little more comfortable, and it's not going to try to keep falling off my shoulder. Ender 3 Pro to Switchwire or source out complete kit. An Ender 3 Pro to Switchwire is an interesting build. I don't have room for it, and I've got lots. If I ran out of things to do, maybe. Thanks, Aubrey. I appreciate that. So it's building the purge tower. I might have, oh, here, while it's switching over to that. The amount of purge that it does between colors, the amount you need will depend on what the transition is. So black to white, before you print white, you probably need to purge more of the black out. Those end up getting set here in the advanced settings per filament, the minimal purge on white tower. And this is the volume of filament it needs to purge to completely eliminate the previous color from the print. So now we're working around. So the Y splitter, I need to check, Andrew, because it's possible that a previous version of the Y splitter is what's out there in the, oh, I am not even close. I might have to change my Z offset and restart this printer. Things aren't sticking. Let's do that right now. See if we can improve it, and then we might have to start it over. Hey, Severus. So technically, I think this Y splitter should be in the Afterburner repo. If it's not there, it'll be in the Switchwire. Here in a second, we can go out and check to see where's what, and I'll fix it if it's not right. Hey, Jose, glad they helped. General question, why are bed slingers not seen as fully inferior to, say, Core XY? As in, why aren't they seen as fully inferior, or why are they seen as fully inferior? I think mass, moving mass is probably the biggest downfall to a bed flinger. The beds are typically heavy, much heavier than the tool head. In a Core XY, you have a relatively consistent mass. You got your X extrusion that increases mass on Y, but probably not as much as a bed is on a bed flinger. Let me get a better look at this. If this makes it through the next layer, maybe I'll let the print go, but if it doesn't, I'll stop and restart it. So that's going to take a little bit for that first layer. Let's go and check to see what the status is on these bits and pieces, the adapter. So we're going to go back to the Voron Afterburner GitHub and look in the STLs. And I think it would be in the Bowden. And this does not have the Y splitter out here. So that probably needs to be fixed. If it's not here, is it in the Switchwire repo? And which version is out there? That's a good point, Sebastian. The print adding increased weight as the print progresses. So if we go to the STLs for the Switchwire and the Gantt tree and the XZ axis, the X carriage, and Bowden, here's the dual adapter. So let's see which one it is. This is not the correct one. I'll get that fixed. I'll fix that today. This is an older version of it. I don't think I have easy access to the new versions on this computer. Rainer, I was really contemplating doing this same setup on my Legacy because it is already Bowden and I thought it would be neat. My challenge ended up being getting an extra stepper driver into the enclosure on the Legacy. Now that was when I was working on this was before any of the common more than 5 stepper controllers were out, so it may be easier to do now. There's not a lot of room in that enclosure, the electronics housing on the Legacy. Ooh. Why is that? There we go. Hey, Hymnus. Not super pleased with that. Okay, this is getting ready to do the cooling move and retract stuff. So I want to change the camera angle here because that M4 is going to do its work. Tomas, membership fee, 10 euros. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I accidentally assumed. So anyway, thank you. Cool thing about my Switchwire build, I can have 2 M4s and the direct drive setup and interchangeable with moderate amount of work thanks to the spider board. Yeah, these multi. Oh, it's got another layer to do because it finished the first layer, but since it's already on that color, it's going to do the second layer. So we got a little bit of time before it does a cooling move. BJ Natty, which printer of yours is going to get the ERCF treatment? I'm not sure. I think maybe the green V2 here. This is a 250 build. It's going to get some stream time coming up, converting it, upgrading all the parts to the 2.4 R2 stuff. So maybe do that with the idea of it being the printer that gets ERCF. Janice, for a newer version of dual extruder, you have to look at the V1.0 branch. Master branch included the old STL. Why isn't that one the default branch then? Let's go back to Switchwire. Voron Switchwire 1.0. The entry, XZ axis, X carriage, Bowden, dual adapter. Yep, that's the new one. Thanks for that, Janice. This is the new version. If you can see, it's the entry comes in at an angle. It's much shorter PTFE tube before it goes into the printed splitter. I'll have to find out from our GitHub folks why this is not the default view, why this isn't in the master branch. I don't understand it enough. That's the theme today, right? I don't understand it enough. So. Where does the ERCF name come from? I'm not sure. Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder, what it stands for. Hey, Olivia. So are we getting close to, okay. There's our cooling moves. It's going to go through this twice, and now it pulls the filament out. I don't know if I caught that in time for it to be useful. Let's see if I can salvage this by cutting this little piece that's being a problem off. Joseph, working cybersecurity for the Super Bowl. How exciting. This is a great thing to do, JP Gray, to a secondary printer, I think. Or a tenthiary printer. I don't know what the best... Can I get a reasonable view of the print and the... I think that's a coincidence, Peter. There's a hint to RCF in the name. Pretty sure that's a coincidence, but Et would know for sure. Yeah, use something you don't mind to have down and have to tinker with for your experimental printer. I mean, that's really the reason why I have so many printers, is so I can take any one of them down at any point and still have a printer to produce parts on. Yeah, let's see if we can get a view, if you can see. See the tip looks really good. Barely any string off of it. What orange ABS brand are you using? This is Prusa Orange ASA. This is what I built this from originally. Because it originally was one of my Mark IIIs converted to a Switchwire, and I thought using Prusa Orange was appropriate. Can I disable noise cancellation for a bit? I don't know if I can do that without... Let's see. How do I... There. Does that turn off? Does that work? So I turned off noise cancellation. Did that actually make the... Can you hear everything? The camera might be doing some as well. So I'm going to turn that back on. Because I imagine it's probably more pleasant for you to have it on. This isn't doing too bad as far as noise. Standing here next to it, I can hear all the movements, but it's not bad. JP Gray, in what way did the 9mm belt mod improve the quality? Because I'm curious on that, because maybe there's more to the 9mm belt mod than I'm aware of. But this is a very short belt path and not a lot of weight that it moves. I'd be curious where a 6mm belt, a quality 6mm belt, isn't sufficient. Hey John, I just made a quick Voron logo. I just modeled it up in Fusion 360. Instead of trying to find an appropriate model off Prusa printers or Thingiverse, I thought this would be neat. Are you going to do any of the user mods for the Switchwire? Let's put it this way. If someone were to suggest a mod that they want to see on my stream, leave it in the comments. I don't be offended if I don't do one, because maybe I don't like some part of it or it doesn't really fit in with what I want to do. But I don't know all the stuff that's out there. So if you bring to my attention something that's cool, I'd really appreciate it. Resonance marks on y-axis. Have you done any input shaping? That's another thing I want to do on this too, is the input shaper tuning. And that's challenging because how do you get the Y? Where do you attach the sensor? I've seen people attach it with VHB tape. I'm not sure if that's a greatest idea or not. I've seen people use one of the screws for the bed, but then you have to take the build sheet off, and then that drastically changes your weight of your bed, right? So I think what I want to do is make a printed part that just goes in place of one of the bed standoffs as a temporary solution to attach that to get your values for the bed, for the y-axis. We'll be making any of the printers on the Doom Discord. There's a lot of cool V0 spinoffs there. Yeah, on the docket, or in my mind, on the plan, is a salad fork. Have you thought more about the bed mod? Absolutely, John. I've been churning that around. I'm going to dedicate a stream to just the Switchwire bed and the effect of the magnets and how to use the faulty region function in Clipper, and comparing a bed mesh by Clicky and the Super Pinda and see what they look like. You just used a binder clip and it worked really well. Okay. Locating pegs or one of the holes of steel sheet can be used. Stealthburner ADXL mod. So on the Switchwire, if you mount it to the Stealthburner, you need to for X, but you only get your X input shaping. Make an adapter on the bed cable cover. That could be a good idea. Print apart, leave it stuck to the bed, and screw the ADX while the bed remains hot. I've seen that idea too, Breckle. As long as the print sticks, then that would be a good idea. As long as you can get it to stay there while you're screwing in the sensor to mount it. Two of the build plate clips, yeah, those binder clips. DJ Natty, still looking for a good cam placement for my V2. Camera is something I haven't done. I tried. I bought the little thin wave share camera. The user mod for mounting that, it's not very good in its current state. He may have modified it by now. I'll have to revisit it. But I got caught with that. I couldn't find a good way to mount it. Sit on a bit of steel and use the bed magnet. There you go. What are we doing here? That's a little better. What else is new? What else is going on? Oh, so your initial question with the wave share cam. Yeah, that wave share cam, I need to find a good mount for it. Either make my own, take the time to CAD my own, or see if the one that's out there has been improved. Jeremy, maybe already answered the V2.4 R2 related to the front idlers. When will it come out? So last time it was soon. I think before that it was soon with quotes. This time it's very soon. Which camera mount did you use? I'm liking the one with heat sets. Which one with heat sets? Maybe we can go look for it. So what I was going to say, talking about future plans and the stream for the rest of this month is going to be disrupted. So I have plans the next 2 Sundays of this month. So my hope is to be prepared enough to stream on Saturday mornings. Hopefully that doesn't get too crowded for folks with other streams that go on, but I can't get away from these Sundays being taken up. So the next 2 weeks are going to be Saturday streams. Keep an eye on my channel posts. If I have to cancel it or move it, I'll post there. Delvin, those little nozzle cameras are pretty cool. Using an endoscope or whatever to get a right up close view of the nozzle. Troy, if you message me in Discord a link to that, I can check it out. I do have Discord on this computer now, and I think I can bring it up without it showing up on stream. So if it doesn't notify me because I'm in streaming mode, so I'm not seeing stuff unless I look for it, but I can at least access it from this computer now. Anything I can do to help, Killer Prince. Breaker, has there been a Charlie tax paid yet? Yeah, Charlie forced his way onto camera very early in the stream. He's sleeping right now. We'll get a visit from him towards the end. Okay, Mike, let me see what you sent me. Did you make that model, or did you download it somewhere? Hey everyone, I have a V24 and I can't print TPU on it. Do you have the same issues with the Afterburner? Honestly, I don't print a lot of TPU on my Vorons. I think I've done it once and I was successful. But usually I throw TPU prints at my Prusa Mark III. I should do more to these just so I can see if I have any trouble. You made that mount, Mike? Yeah. You want to send it to me? I'll check it out, if you don't mind. One thing about these MMU prints, they take a long time Evan, you're in Folsom. That's just down the road. Hi. So Evan, what do you have a Voron? CPU on the Switchwire is no problem, okay. I remember printing, where is it? It's a little buried. Let's see if I can get it over here. I printed these tires, these TPU tires for this open RC tractor. Oop. And Sane Smart TPU on my CR10. And I think they turned out pretty darn good for that long Bowden. Oh, okay. It is doing its thing. Yeah, these see if I can. Tips are doing pretty good. Not a lot of stringing on the end. Good evening, 3D printing freak Martin. When are you going to do some 3D printing RC stuff? Well, I'm working there. I got to fit all of this stuff in between everything else I do. 2.4 R2 took up a lot of this last week. I know I've shown this on camera before, but this is the 3D Sets buggy front fender. That's still on the plate. What speed am I printing? Let's find out. Print settings, speed. Okay speeds for a bed flinger. I have not tuned any of this. So. What material am I printing the RC stuff in? So that green fender I just showed you was printed solid slime green or whatever it is, PLA. There are some parts that they recommend in other materials, and I probably have it here, ABS, nylon, polycarbonate, that I'll print the recommended stuff in those materials. But I think most of it's I'm just gonna go with PLA. The plan is to print it all on the Legacy. Let's see, what kind of progress? We're about halfway through the print. The input shaper and pressure advance tuning I need to do on this still. Any thoughts of printing that 3D printed mini piano? What 3D printed mini piano? Can you put a link to that RC buggy? Yeah, let's go there and check it out. They've had some updates. We go to 3dsets.com. It's really easy. 3dsets.com. 3D Printing Cave, you got your V0 display working. That's awesome. I'm glad I could be of help. This is 3D Sets. They make these awesome, almost fully 3D printed crawlers and RC vehicles. They're all about, they say they're about 8th scale. This Model 7 buggy is what I'm going to build. "3D Printing Freak, €5, 1 coffee to make it through the live stream." Thank you. Appreciate it. So this is the Model 7 buggy. What I thought was really neat about this model is it's a little simpler build than the full crawlers. But I really like their take on the transmission. You can see it here in this video screenshot. It's all belt driven, and the suspension, the swing arms here, it works because it can twist the belt. So, and I'm going to run the brushless version. But in addition to this, they have, let's see, buggy model lineup. They just came out after I bought that, a Bugster, a little on-road version. Kind of neat. And then what else do they have? They have a bunch of little neat accessories. Where were those? Accessory for buggies. Just detailing stuff. Skis. Ian Tricker, £5. Thank you. PMVE, the Ender Legacy bed mounts. Good. I'm glad that worked for you. Anyway, 3D Set seems to do a really good job with these models. This one piece I printed, this fender, had some built-in supports that came off beautifully. I'm impressed. Ian, you already got your 2.4 kit? What are you doing for printed parts? Because you really want the 2.4 R2 stuff. And like I said, very soon. We're very soon. So it's worth waiting if you don't have your parts printed or haven't started them. About how much does it cost in total to build one of those basic RC cars? I don't remember. I bought a bunch of the pieces off of Amazon and stuff. I don't think I have more than $100 into the into the parts. 3D Printing Cave, $10. Thank you. Mike, you just sent me the mount files for the Waveshare camera? Okay. So Bradley B. So for 2.4 R2, most parts have been touched. But by touched, that might mean, for instance, on the AB, for instance, on the AB, this is the A stepper mount. The holes, the counterboard holes that are against a build surface have been changed to the cross bridge style support method versus the chamfer. So that kind of thing is what most parts have been changed, which means it's not a critical change for you to worry about reprinting. There is a change to the cable chain mount, and that's why I've got this printed as testing it. We're going to a single screw, a printed piece in the back here instead of the nuts and that little printed piece that were really fiddly. So this is nice and sturdy, it holds in place, and it's a lot easier to install. But that's not critical either. There's no, if you deal with the nuts on the other version, there's not a functional difference. It's an assembly, ease of assembly difference. You're welcome, Tracy Moon. Printing the parts took a while, and my Prusa, the RC stuff I had already. Yeah, I had a lot of stuff for it already. I have a, where is my project box for that? Ah. I have a project box for it. And it's just, I mean, a hobby wing, their recommended hobby wing speed control, a little brushless motor off of Amazon, cheap steering servo. I bought a bunch of the belts from AliExpress, and then a cheap set of shocks off of Amazon. Jeremy, very soon. Yes, 10 euros. Thank you. Jesper, there will be a changelog. There will be a changelog. DJ Natty, what changed on the front idlers and the XY mounts compared to Trident? The XY joints just got that cross bridge style countersunk holes, and compared to Trident. So compared to the previous version of Voron 2, it's set up for the MGN12. So it's MGN12, and then the difference beyond Trident is the cross bridge style holes, and that's it for the XY joints. There's no other difference. Front idlers moved the tensioning screw in line with the belt instead of centered on the front idlers. Rails different on it from regular 2.4. The only one is the MGN12 for X. However, all the parts are fully compatible with the two MGN9. So if you want to run the two MGN9s, use the previous XY joints, use the previous X carriage. All of that is fine. There's even an X carriage for Stealthburner and Clockwork too. So there's no forcing you to go to the MGN12 setup. All of it is cross compatible. You could put 2 times MGN9 on the Trident and it would work fine if you use just those right parts. Mitchell, I have a couple of controllers. I have a Spectrum. I have a couple of cheap like Sky RC ones. I don't know which one I'm going to use in that. Probably the Spectrum. Llama Chaos, the PIF has been made aware of all the changes. If you're in the queue, I think you'll be taken care of. Anybody who is in the PIF queue, I recommend that you contact, once you're assigned, contact your provider when they, and make sure you mention that you have an LDO kit. If you have an LDO kit. if you don't have an LDO kit, then as their release, you're just going to get the latest version anyway. Stealthburner will not be in R2. It's still in beta. CRC error, off-topic question. Trident or V2? My totally biased opinion is the Trident. Hi, Q. Yeah, not a single jam, not a single anything. I mean, there's not a ton of, I think this is 30 filament swaps in this whole print. Viking Cat, again, what? Where'd my mouse go? Yeah, I'll get a more complicated. So let's see. Any suggestions on a 2-color print that I should try next? "3D Nevo, is a purge block required, or can you also purge within?" So I'm assuming you mean in the infill. And Prusa Slicer has a way of doing that. I haven't tried it. This print may be a good candidate for that, because there's quite a bit of infill in the black, and you can probably purge to those, but I'm not sure. Are there any big difficulties with Stealthburner from what you heard? No, I'm running a Stealthburner and Clockwork 2 in 2 printers. I'm running the Stealthburner fan in 3 more printers. And when we do the upgrade here, we'll do the full R2, but we'll probably also do Stealthburner and Clockwork 2. Although I may save that for release and do the Stealthburner and Clockwork 2 once they're released on here. Hey Steve, love your videos. I'm currently piecing together my own Trident build. I went with Stellar Blue and Lulzbot Green. Okay, that'll look good. What do we got here? Lulzbot Green. Let's see if I have a Stellar Blue. Stellar Blue and Lulzbot Green. Yeah. For the Z-axis on the 2.4 R2, is it GE5C for the assembly, and can I use the IGUS ones? It is not. So that, in keeping with 2.4 R2 being a minor release, the Z did not change for that. Maybe this has been answered, but can you use this head and add multi-material to Trident or 2.4? Yeah. Eddie the engineer, he was running his 2.4 with one of these splitters for a while, doing some multi-material playing around about a little over a year ago. With Clockwork 2, I found that the heat set holes are too big. Okay. I'll talk to Wiley about that. Ask him about that. Hey Steve, I'm currently pulling the backpack off my V1.8, but only to make the wiring nicer. Probably not going to be a Trident yet. If it looks nice enough, you think I can still get a serial? Absolutely. Absolutely. There is no reason that you need to change any of that to get a serial. Everything needs to be clean. You have to have a deck, so the separating your build chamber from all your wiring, and you have to have managed wires and at the tool head. Who makes the Stellar Blue? KVP. I don't have any other blues like that. KVP is who I have the Stellar Blue from though. W4 or Raker, what are your thoughts on building a short and squat 2.4? 250 by or 350 by 350 by 230. Is this reasonable? And you can't get a kit for it, so it's custom, but it is very reasonable. Keeping your whole printer shorter, easier, less volume to heat up. I think there's a couple of people in the PIF providers who run short printers because they don't need any Z height. "3D Nevo, give me a second. My throat's getting dry. This might be a stupid question, but what is a serial request? It's not a stupid question. When RCF was selling printers, he made us an initial batch of Voron 1s, and each one had a serial number. And as this morphed into a community project, that kind of thing kept around. So as you build a Voron and take a video of it and post it to Reddit with the right flares and requests, you can get a serial number for your printer. And it's just a fun thing. It does give you access to a couple more areas in Discord. So there's some way to obtain that sexy cable cover like you have. I'm currently building exactly the same Switchwire and love to get your hands on that STL. It's in the Switchwire files. So the cable cover is there in the Switchwire repo. Derek, $5, thank you. I'm in that weird spot that I'm starting from being annoyed to being happy with Clipper configuration steps. Clipper, just being able to edit the configuration file like you do. Anytime I have to touch Marlin, I consider switching whatever that is over to Clipper. So once you're used to Clipper, it's hard to go to anything else. I mean, even RepRap firmware. I mean, I've looked at it a little bit. I set up my HyperCube Evo in RepRap firmware, and just having to know or look up all of the what M command or in S1 and all this stuff. It's very powerful and very, very useful and nice to have configuration files instead of recompiling firmware all the time. But the kind of plain language or closer to plain language stuff the Clipper is, it just seems so much nicer. How long do serials take? So the serial request process is still a manual thing and being run by volunteers. That it can take a significant amount of time depending on what's going on. So patience. Put it in, just be patient. It will be gotten to. Yeah, they are processed in batches, and it's all on someone's free time. So keep that in mind. Mama Chaos, any quality ABS is going to be fine. Any quality ABS or ASA. The STL that's in the Switchwire repo is not the same as you have. So if you go to the different branch, the Switchwire 1.0 branch, you'll find the STL. I was reminded of that in stream earlier. Blam, ABS Plus, yep. Rainer, where do I find Clockwork 2? If you go to the so I searched for Afterburner GitHub. I'm just going to recycle this this page. Search for Afterburner GitHub. Go to the Afterburner Voron Afterburner GitHub and change your branch to Stealthburner Beta, SB Beta, and this is all the files for Stealthburner. Similarly, when someone was asking about where to get the Switchwire pieces, I need to ask about this, but right now, if you switch to the Switchwire 1.0 branch, you can get the Y splitter, the most current Y splitter files. Sanity. You'll have to remind me what the currency is, but it's check something. I don't remember what the K is, but thank you. I appreciate it. Membership. I'll get to it. I'll get to it, I promise. Mr. Clown, that's very true. Often having to go through every, I took, when I was working with Marlin, I would put a comment on everything that I changed. Just a unique comment, and I usually use my last name. So I do / Peterson. And that way, whenever I was going and switching to another version or whatever, I could pull up the old one and do a search on that and know everything that I had changed. Crowns, Chronor. Seska Karuna? Really wanted to finish my 2.4, but I'm still waiting for my wiring supplies. Yeah. Check Crown. Okay. Thank you for that reminder. And speaking of, Pavel, membership support for from the check SK. What's SK? Discord group. Thank you. Evan, did I run my hotbed wire straight to the MCU, or do you have a connector to make removal easier? I do have a connector. I'm using a, oh, what do they call those? I'm using one of these. XT60 connector. Slovak. Okay, thank you. Hi, Juan Carlos. What would you recommend, ERCF or Y splitter, if you only want to do 2-color printing? I mean, the Y splitter is super simple. I at the very least, I mean, there's almost nothing involved. You can try it. Dragon or Revo Voron? Depends on what you need. So with the Dragon, you have an option of like a Dragon high flow, and you are going to have a higher ceiling for your print speed and volume. But I was sent a Revo Voron to feature on the channel. I was part of the beta group for the Revo. I've still spent about $200 of my own money in Revo pieces, so I can have more of them. I'm not going to run it on every printer because it doesn't fit every use case that I need right now. But I do like the system, and I want to support that ecosystem expanding. So it doesn't fit things in particular, abrasive printing. I'm very much looking forward to the Exian nozzle, so I can add that to the printers that I want to print abrasives on. And right now, as it's capped at a certain volumetric flow rate. So Tracy, another membership request, $4.99. Thank you. Yeah, Voron is the only word I get on availability of Voron is after all pre-orders for Revo Micro and Revo 6 are done. They don't have a hard date yet. DJ Natty, that's a good point. The big difference, and really it's a huge one, between in a benefit to the ERCF is you're still working from in a print quality and print settings point of view with a direct drive extruder, which is so much nicer and easier to tune than these Bowdens. That is a big plus for going with an ERCF style setup. You're asking where to connect the accelerometer to the bed. Why not modify the part that attaches it to the belly? It attaches it to the MGN cartridge. Just it's a little far under there. If I understood what you meant, I think it's just a little far under there, hard to reach. Oh, to the belt. Yeah, that too. It's pretty far under there. I really think I may just make a printed part that gets bolted in with one of these, where one of these standoffs is, or goes around two of the standoffs and just puts it on the front here. You heard pre-orders started shipping this week? I don't know. My pre-order, I have 2 hot ends on pre-order through E3D Direct. They haven't shipped yet, but I didn't order early on the first day. I think I may have even been the second day. The Evan, these XT60s, they've got solder cups there. You solder them. E3D announcements say they're starting to ship this Wednesday. That's cool. Juan Carlos, my big dilemma is multi-material. Single nozzle solutions are not an option. Yeah, you can't eliminate contamination between the materials when you're doing a single nozzle. IDEX time, or tool changer. Five days for beer. I'm sorry, Steve. I just can't find the same cable cover STL as you have. Oh, I may have misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about the cable for the bed. You're talking about this cover. This cover is not released because it's really meant for going over the tool headboard, and it doesn't have enough volume to do that. If somebody wanted this for a Switchwire or whatever, message me. I can send it to you. But it's not really a piece that's... if somebody wanted it for this application where you don't have a lot of stuff under there, but it's not really ready for release otherwise. Did I catch you, 5 days? Yeah, Eddie's IDEX project is going to be fun. This printer is going to be the guinea pig for that. Breaker, $10, thank you. for your help with the community. Many thanks and appreciation. Thank you. I appreciate that. Has anyone thought of a tool changer with only picks up a Bowden tube with filament sticking out so it can be extruded? Comes with its own challenges but requires nearly no hardware. I don't know. Mehmet, this cable cover is based on hearts, and I don't think I changed the volume of it. It doesn't quite fit. Hey, it finished. Sanity, one of my tridents will be IDEXed. Yes. Kenneth, did you see on YouTube the Trident 5 tool changer? No. I don't think so. I did see a guy doing a tool changer Trident. It might be the same one. But I thought that was a little while ago. I gotta figure this out. The Woodpecker Project. Honey Badger, just self-sourced a Trident. Thank you for your hard work on the project and continued dedication to the community. Thank you. $5. Thank you. Also, there's an IDEX Switchwire out there. Yeah, I saw that. I wanted to do a kind of a IDEX conversion for the CR10 I used to have because I still have all the frame parts, but I never got around to it. Hey, Berserker Dirk. I just like saying your name. Berserker Dirk. Okay, that print finished, and it no jams. The tips look reasonable. They're not very stringy at all. The print quality is not wonderful because I haven't tuned it. Yeah. Hey, Dustin. I am pleased. I am ready to start a more complicated. So did anybody have any suggestions for a 2-color print I should go? Yeah, a different infill. That's interesting. Monotonic infill was not turned on. You're right. Let me look at my settings here. Print settings. Infill. It is not. So this profile was generated way before Prusa included the monotonic infill. Should just turn that on and save that. That would explain the inconsistencies in that top layer. Yeah, the bottom textured side I like. For someone having a Mark III's with full bare upgrade, would it be an upgrade to go for a Switchwire, or should one go the extra mile and spend the money for a Voron 2.4? I upgraded or used a Prusa Mark III as the basis when this was being developed. I ended up putting it all back together and buying the parts to make this on its own, and then selling that Prusa instead of doing the conversion. I still have another Prusa, and it's got the bare upgrade that I use for PLA and PETG and those kind of prints. Two-color frog. Two-color frog or Minecraft ore. Mini Stormtroopers are 2-color. Or Spider-Man. Spider-Man would be good for the colors I had on here. Let's look at, oops, not that one. This one. Let's go to, let's say, Prusa. Prusa printers. Okay. I'd like to see what the latest. Let's see. I've got these. Let's look at Spider-Man. Is there any 2-color Spider-Man stuff? We've got stuff like this, but it's not as exciting. I kind of want something that's got some Z to it, some height. That's funny. Maybe we can. I mean, the frog is quite a little torture test, isn't it? 2-color frog or MMU frog. This guy here, the 2-color tree frog. Oh, they've already got a Minecraft frog out here. Oh shoot, I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry about that. Let's just go classic. Let's go for the 2-color frog. Is that all we need? Let's go here. Downloads 2-color frog. That's the, oh, we need the outside. Okay, we do need both pieces. So let's get the hollow and the solid. Add both of these pieces, and then it'll detect that it's a multi-material. I could have grabbed the 3MF file as well, I think. Yes. So there's our frog. I think when I print this guy, I want him to be looking at me, not looking away. That is what it would look like. Let's make this a blue and red frog. Make a Spider-Man frog. Spider frog. Does whatever a spider frog does, right? I'm just going to feed this through until it's right at the entrance to the Y-splitter. At least that's what I found with this setup works well. I'm not scrolled to the latest. Oh, I've scrolled up. Where are we at? Yeah, it's exactly like Spider Pig. We're going to do a spider frog. Okay. I don't think there's much opportunity for purge to infill here. I don't think we're going to save any much for this model. So let's slice it. For what I've printed, Sanity, For what I've printed on this printer and on my Legacy, the M4 has been reliable. This has taken a bit to process that G-code. And done. So let's throw that at the printer. And just in case I got some fingerprints and bad spots, let me clean off. Let me grab a rag. I'll be right back. Just a real quick wipe where it's going to be. Print time estimate is 8 hours. Oh well, we're not gonna, I mean, we're just gonna start the print. We'll probably call the stream in about 20 minutes or so. We'll get it started, and then I'll post a picture of it when it's done. Assuming it completes successfully. Go back here and just get it started. Start to print. John, I only use Prusa Slicer. I've been bitten by Super Slicer. I don't trust it in some things, and I've seen too many weird little bugs that bug me. KDB 424, would printing 2 make less waste and take similar time? It would be less waste. For multi-material prints in this style of multi-material print with a purge tower, your purge tower is a static size. So the print to purge ratio improves with the more copies of the part you make. So this is, I thought I told it to print. Oh, it's okay. It's just heating up the bed first. There it goes. Okay, now the hot end's heating up. Jack Rickson? Jack Ryan, but with an X. I'm in love with the Switchwire design. I'm currently in the process of designing variants of it. Okay. I was just wondering what you thought about plus size builds. Any thoughts on variants of the Switchwire? As you get larger in a Switchwire, it is a bed flinger, so the mass of your bed is going to have a negative effect on your print quality. I don't know what point that is, and it depends on what material you're going to source your bed from. If you try to make a Mike 6 bed out of one of these, it's going to be much worse than if it's a fiberglass or whatever based bed. But thank you for the 10 Canadian. Okay, it is getting going. This should be a neat black and red print. Thing 1-4. Let's find out. Thing 1442085. Is that the... Which one? Is it that or the bowl? Nope, not that one. 1442085. Let's do that. Two colors, Wall Street bowl. Yeah, that looks, that needs supports. That print needs supports. I don't like, I'm not a, I mean, it's fine, but I avoid prints that need supports. Accidentally typed Thongiverse. We're not going to go there on stream. Oop. It's doing its purges. Doesn't Prusa Slicer have a paint feature for multi-material inside the slicer? Is that the coming up? Is it in the current one or is it in coming up in the next beta? Let's up and get a little. There we go. Hopefully I've got the offset, Z offset good enough for this to stick, because this is gonna be a tough one if it's not. T-Bomb 5000, $10. Thank you. How do you know if someone built a Voron? Don't worry, they will have to tell you. By the way, I just built my first Voron. It's a Trident and it's awesome. Awesome, thank you. I tell everybody I build Vorons. They get tired of me at work. Can't wait for my Revo Voron so I can try Stealthburner. Stuck using ABBN with my current Mosquito. I know people hate Alice, but I can't justify another hot end while waiting for my Revo. Yeah. What do you need to set up Clipper side for multi-material? Anything specific? So I covered that earlier in the stream. For this basic setup, the only things are needed is to have two extruders defined and then two macros. One of them is a T0 macro and one's a T1 macro. And the T0 macro just says to set the active extruder to extruder. The T1 macro says to set the active extruder to extruder 1. And for the basic setup, that's all that's needed. Now, on a future stream, I'm going to go into the ERCF build. And I'm looking forward to that. I've got a 4-module ERCF. And that is a much more involved setup. But it's also more powerful. I haven't taken the V0 to work yet. I keep meaning, I have a bad hot end cooling fan. I need to swap that out, and as soon as I do that, I'll be taking it. There's those tiny little spots on the bed. Look at all those little spots. I think you can see them okay. I'm missing one part. And so I ordered some miscellaneous parts because I have a 1.0 kit, ERCF 1.0 kit. I think it originally came from DFH, Deep Fried Hero. It was a 1.0 kit. To upgrade it to 1.1, I needed some bearings, and the little Hall effect sensor for in the tool head is the only thing I'm missing. I'm going to place a DigiKey order, but I haven't done that yet. I haven't built up enough of an order to place it. And then I think I'll have all the parts I need to build the ERCF. Yeah, the LEDs. Aside from the cooling improvements and all that kind of stuff, just having these LEDs, I didn't know how nice they would be until I had them. Do you think the ERCF is more likely to jam? Because I've heard people having issues with that. It's a more complicated system. So it's going to take more time in tuning the different things that can cause a jam, both in your filament routing as well as things like the tip tuning. Holy moly, that is about as perfect of a tip as possible right there, though. There's no stringing on that. Okay, there is a wisp coming off the end of it, but we'll see how this does. We'll go a few layers into this and then call the stream. As long as you guys have things you want to chat about. I'm proud of V0 to work for your Pew Pew manufacturer. Dustin Speed, $20. Thank you. I love the work you do and the involvement in the community. I like to support teachers as that is my passion. Keep up the good work. Subi Wave. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. I'm having a good time doing this. I have lots of ideas. Just have to put in the work to prep for it. Slowly get my setup here fine-tuned. I think I'm getting in a good place. I'd really like to get this camera on the cam link. I think I need to call Elgato support and figure out why I get random camera lockups when I have two cam links, even if they're on completely different USB hosts. So I don't think that's supposed to do that. So one day I'll get the time to call up Elgato support and see if they can have any tips. Any plans for the next stream? The next stream is kind of a little bit up in the air. There's a couple of ways I could go with it. One way or another, this coming week's stream is going to be Saturday. Unless I have to cancel it, in which case I'll post a message out there whether I do or not. But if it happens, and it should, it's unlikely that I have to cancel it. But if it does happen, it will be Saturday. Hymnus, 10 Canadian. Thanks for this afternoon stream. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Ken Gross, $5. You do good work and it is appreciated. You need to do memberships. I will. I'll get them set up. I keep going back to the whole thing with once you set it up, it's kind of locked there. And if you change certain things, then it resets your membership. So they put kind of a scary bar there for the initial setup. I have one of Fabrico's Honey Badger edge-to-edge heaters due tomorrow, doing some beta testing with his universal mount heater, along with Whopping puckered kinematics and a Mandela mag bed. So I have one of Whopping's kinematic mounts mounted on a printer. That'll end up in a stream sometime soon, I think. Q, 2 camera issues. Have you tried running them off a powered USB hub? It may be a power issue. Yes, I have. I've tried. I have a powered USB hub. So my setup here is a a newish Dell XPS laptop with a Thunderbolt 3 dock, and currently I'm running the ZV-1 in its USB cam mode into the dock, and the A6400 via cam link into the side of the laptop, because it's right there. Into the side of the laptop with the ZV-1 hooked up with a cam link into the dock or into the USB hub. Either one, I get a random, it doesn't matter, it seems to be random, one of them will lock up after a random amount of time. Shout out to Whopping for being the newest Voron crew member. Yep, welcome. Welcome to them. Yeah, if this prints well, this is going to be a really neat looking two-color frog. So far, it appears to be sticking. That might be poked up right there. I've looked at some mods for bed flingers, and there are some that can prevent belt slipping on the Y via form of gearboxes. I haven't had any belt slipping. Disabled, I did, Viking Cat, I did go through and disable power management, all of the USB devices. That didn't seem to help. Kyle, I have not yet had a chance to look at the WLED stuff. I just couldn't fit it in. Hymnus, was that a DM? I know I've got a couple of DMs on Discord to catch up on. If I haven't answered your DM on Discord, feel free to just ping it. Just put a message, a reminder message in there. They end up scrolling down fairly quick. I had USB issues. Windows said all of my drivers were up to date. Downloaded Driver Easy and found an update fixed your issue. Okay. Move the camera a little bit up. I would like to watch the filament changing system. Yeah. Let's see if we can get a little more of a... Try to get the print as well as some of that. How's that? Six-minute benchy on a Trident. Is it still in one piece? That is. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. I'd like this to get a couple of layers in before we call it. Make sure it's going to go all the way through. Just curious, when you do multi-material, do you use 2.5 ID tube or 3mm? I found I had trouble loading filament with 3mm, so I ordered some 2.5. This is a Bowden setup, so I'm using 2mm. I'm using the tight stuff. Where can I find the clipper config of Clockwork 2? The only change is going to be for Clockwork 2, the only change you're going to have difference between Clipper or between Clockwork 2 and Clockwork 1 is Clockwork 1 was a NEMA 17 with a 17-tooth gear on it going to the BMG stuff. So your ratio there was 50 to 17. For Clockwork 2, it's a 10-tooth gear on the stepper, so it's just 50 to 10. And that should be the only thing you have to change, given same parts on the rest of it. I'm getting a little bit of glitchiness in my webcam here. Oh, good point. Good point, Blam. Thank you. So the other big change is check your motor currents. On Afterburner with the NEMA 17, you were probably running 0.4 to 0.6 amps on that. Don't run more than 0.35 or so on the new stepper. Good point. I have a significant burn that's healed up now from that. I think just a reminder, this is what happens on Clockwork 2 when the stepper gets really, really hot. I did see the EVA toolhead on the Trident. Simon S. Yes, it should. The Calibrate Z should take that into account. You shouldn't have to worry about the different build plate. JP Gray, the preferred stepper for Clockwork 2 will be the round 36 millimeter or whatever stepper. The release, there may be an option for the NEMA 17, but that's not been fleshed out yet. Jacqueline, that's for the larger beds on a bed flinger. It's mostly just mass. It's mostly just the pure mass of it. It seems to be doing okay so far. VGV, I've been running 0.85 on the motor I use. It's the same as the V0.1. There's about 3 or 4 different versions of that stepper. The safe thing is to check which version, and I don't know what the recommended currents are on all of them, but I'm sure somebody, if you post it in Discord, would. Yeah. There are several versions of those little steppers with different current ratings. The most common ones want to run in that 0.3-ish amp range, though. But not all of them. I mean, see how hot it is. I wouldn't touch it with your finger, or if you do, be very, very quick and careful. Very cautious. Where are we at? We're at 2.5 hours. I stretched this little hangout out quite a while. Hope you guys have been having fun. We're gonna go, let's go a couple more layers. So unless things die out. This is at 6%, 22 minutes in. Hang out and chill. Chill and print, whatever. Cade Sullivan, what is this tool head? So we have a Afterburner Y adapter Bowden setup at its core with the Stealthburner front and tool head with a E3D Revo Voron hot end. with the M4 extruders. You gonna post a pic of that frog in Discord when it's complete? As long as it doesn't fail, yeah. Maybe if it does fail, I'll still post it. JP Gray. So one nice thing that Prusa does is when you order 2 spools of their filament, the shipping is really reasonable to the US. They've got it optimized at 2 spools, I think. At least they used to. I think it's still the same. Is the Y setup commercial? No, it's a printed part. It uses, hold on a second. It uses oh, I don't have any. It uses these little Triangle Labs or whatever, or Bondtech PTFE couplers to hold the tube in there. Otherwise, it's just a printed part with the tubes going in. Horizontal banding your camera in the corner. Camera frame rate match your LED refresh? Probably not. John, what's the subject for the stream on Saturday? That's kind of up in the air right now. You'll see when I schedule it. Troy J. Stepped away for a few minutes. I'm sorry if you answered this already. Will the R2 be revealed in a Voron Live? I don't think so. It's a minor release, not really up to the level of a Voron Live. Thanks, Kate. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's 2 separate Vodens, 2 M4 extruders going into the printed Y adapter. It uses, here, if we went to, this is the, there we go. This is just the quickest way I know to get to the part. So if you go to Filextruder and it's a Bondtech sells these, and they're really reasonable if you're in the US. It should be this guy, this push fit fitting. It uses a couple of these as the inlet to the printed part. How am I liking the Revo Voron? Can't wait till those start shipping. Heard maybe April. All I've heard is they'll start shipping or taking orders after current Revo pre-orders have been filled. I like it. I don't remember how much or any trouble I had with this particular setup. So a direct comparison here, I had a Dragon on here. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I don't remember if I had more or less problems getting a good tip when I had this set up before. I could throw a Dragon on here and then do some comparisons, but that would just be time if I can get around to it. Hey, Gadget Angel. Any other sites like 3D sets? There are others out there. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know that many of them are as well done as 3D sets, though. If anybody, the way I heard about 3D sets is on Prusa did one of their blog features, I think it was, or a video feature on them, and they have a free model out here. Where was that? We search for 3D sets. They have a free kind of not RC, just a static model. It's this guy, but where is the... Ooh. There it is. The Landy Mini. This is, I printed this. I have it at work. It's a neat little model if you wanted to get a taste of what their style is. They use some hardware, and it's got printed springs, and it's decent size. It turned out really well. I don't have it here to show you, but I printed it with Protopasta candy apple red and black and white. So far, so good. I do need to do... I did it. I need to do input shaping and pressure advanced tuning on this, though, before I do any real prints. Random question, but do you dry your ABS, and if so, how? I have not noticed that I needed to on ABS. I have had to dry my Pet G. And I did, if you paid attention to one of the, I think it was last stream or the stream before, I did have to dry these Prusa ASA before I got a good print out of it. But generally, I have my ABS out in the open, and I haven't had to dry it. I only have 2 rolls of ASA. It's both Prusa. It's this orange, and then I have a roll of their Galaxy Black. But I haven't even taken it out of the package. Yeah, it got quite stringy. And all I did between this and the part that's on the printer is dry the filament. Hi, Steve. Putting in LEDs in Stealthburner Beta 3. So Beta 3 is quite, I mean, it's 2 versions old. The newer version may have a little more clearance, but what I would check is check for little blobs of filament. Yeah, this is a good enough example. And let me get something to point with. There we go. Check for little blobs of filament in here. If you clear that out on both sides, you should be able to get, depending on the LED module you have, you should be able to get it to go in there all the way. I'm gonna get one more woken up Charlie visit before we call it. I'll probably call it in just a few minutes. Oh, wrong camera. Yeah, Charlie's pretty much back to normal. He's a little more needy than he was before his surgery, but I feel like he's pretty much back to normal. What are you doing? So, anyway, with that, I think we're going to sign off. So I want to thank everybody who came. Thank everybody who donated. Keep an eye out for the he didn't seem to be bothered by the hot pause. Keep an eye out for the scheduled for next week. More highly likely it'll just be Saturday 10 a.m. Unless something comes up, then I'll post. So so thanks again. We will see you next week. Bye.